Welcome to Podtendo, a Nintendo podcast, where they analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games.
Time, monster. You don't belong in this world.
It was not by my hand that I'm once again given flesh. I was called here by humans who wish to pay me tribute.
Tribute? You steal men's souls and make them your slaves.
Perhaps the same could be said of all religions.
Your words are as empty as your soul. Mankind ill needs a savior such as you.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets. But enough talk. Have at you!
Hey guys, welcome back to the spooktastic month of October here on the Podtendo podcast, where we analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games. We can be contacted on Twitter, Podtendo Podcast. I have a presence. I've made some friends that I talk to sometimes on Twitter. It's fun. You could get in on that fun. You can email us, podtendo@gmail.com. No one ever emails us. We're on other socials like Instagram and Facebooks and YouTube. There's a presence at some point, so that's pretty exciting. And we're a Let's Play review, retrospective pop culture show. And we're talking about Castlevania today on this show. Symphony of the Night, to be specific. I am your host, the Spooktastic Mick. And I'm joined every episode by my lovely and talented co-host,
Tyson Belmont.
There you go, nice. We even remembered them from the last episode. So good job, us. High five.
Nailed it.
Sweet. So this is part 2 of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. You listened to the first one. We kind of stopped at the halfway point. Very interesting cliffhanger. It was a very cut and dry episode. No fluff. We're going to get tons of fluff today. Nothing but fluff on this fluffy episode of this fun, spooky game. Hooray.
Yeah, we'll meander our way through this one. We were pretty streamlined through that last one, but time to meander. Let's smell the roses, as it were.
All right, so let's smell these roses for this fun game. It was developed by Konami. It sold 1.27 million units. It was released March 20th, 1997. How long to beat has this game at 8.5 hours. Price at release was $49.99. If you factor in inflation, that'd be $70.60 today. eBay has this game astronomical, $150 for just a copy of this disc of this PS1 classic. Upwards of $800. eShop, you can get it for about $9, $10 or something like that. Where to play it? You can play it on the PS1, Saturn, Xbox 360, PSP, PS4, PS Vita, Android, iOS. The hits just keep rolling, you know?
Yep. And we also forgot PC. It's also on PC.
It is also on PC, so that's fun. So it's part of the fluff that we're missing in our last episode. One of the staples of our show, what makes the Podtendo podcast, is we have to talk about the pop culture landscape of when this game came out. So you know, because you were alive, potentially, and you want to know what else came out around this time. Oh, that section's kind of low. Oops, that's too bad. We're going to jump into our patented Wayback Machine. Yes, we actually own a time machine, and we're going to travel back in time to March 20th, 1997. We're going to ask the age-old question. We want to live there. So we're going to start out with The Simpsons, Season 9, Episode 1, The City of New York versus Homer Simpson. Homer must travel to New York City to retrieve his impounded car. Hilarity ensues. Or King of the Hill, Season 1, Episode 8, Shins of the Father. Hank, his father, Cotton, stays with the Hills, which doesn't bode well for Peggy because his misogyny starts rubbing off on Bobby. So of those two shows, Tyson, what would you rather watch?
King of the Hill is a very good show, and actually I remember this episode quite well. It's pretty good. Peggy is, Peggy, but Cotton's probably the best character in this show. Like when Peggy falls out of an airplane. Yes, she falls out of an airplane and her parachute doesn't work, so she's actually paralyzed for a chunk of the show. And Cotton actually, I remember he buys, not in this episode, but he buys his grave where he's going to be buried. So he is coaching Peggy all along through all this, and he takes her to his grave and he's like, look, you've always wanted to dance on my grave, so I bought it, so here you are, so get up, start dancing. And so, sure enough, yeah, like, I mean, she grits her teeth and crawls up that hill and dances on Cotton's grave. So it's this show is so fantastic and well written, and Mike Judge is just a gem and is apparently just like one of the nicest human beings ever, and just like will go above and beyond for certain people. But that being said, this is probably one of the best episodes of The Simpsons. Yeah. I understand that a lot of people, like, it was taken off the air for respect and reasons, but it's like, it's so funny. Homer's reaction is just sometimes how you feel after coming home and you're just driving through chaos and maniacs are everywhere and people are just being dumb, and it feels like you're just getting shit on. It's just like, that is like how sometimes you feel. And like the flashback with Homer Simpson, like, going to New York City the first time is so priceless. Like how could you not choose this episode? All
right, there you go. So I have it queued up. So good job, Simpson. Nice, sweet yo, good old. Other shows you could be watching on TV are Ally McBeal, Oz, The Practice, ER, and Frasier.
Interesting. Yep, that's some 90s TV.
Cartoons. Maybe you're like, man, those are boring. I'm a kid. I want to watch cool cartoon shows. You could be watching Bear in the Big Blue House. I didn't write anything else down. Let's see if anything else stands out here on the list. 101 Dalmatians starts this year. Okay,
yeah.
Right,
so this is big Disney Channel, Family Channel.
Caillou, yeah, Daria, Cow and Chicken.
Okay, I bet you there's some recess, or maybe you're a year or two out from your recess.
I was going to read a bunch, so if you just want to...
I'll just shut up.
Donkey Kong Country, Extreme Dinosaurs, Extreme Ghostbusters, Franklin. Hey, it's Franklin. Johnny Bravo. What else? Men in Black, this series. Mummies Alive. Ned's Newt. Nightmare Ned. Oh, this Recess started this year. South Park.
Did I not say that Recess started this year or next? Did I not say?
You did. That's pretty impressive that you knew that. What else? We got the new Batman Adventures. I don't know that one. And then that kind of falls off. But there you go. That's not bad.
It's a solid freaking list.
All right. So it kind of redeemed itself. So.
Bear in the Big Blue House. I like how that's the one that made the list out of all those good cartoons. You're like, Bear in the Big Blue House. And isn't it a freaking, like, it's not even a cartoon. It's bloody. It's a guy walking around in a costume.
But it's like a, I don't know, it's like a kid's show.
It is, yeah, I get you. Oh.
Like, anything else. But, like, so those are some of the best, like, South Park, Nightmare Ned, Johnny Bravo.
Okay, here's a side tangent. Ned's Newt. Do you remember on Nickelodeon when they were running the the contest?
Yeah, it was like Kraft Dinner and Teletoon, and if they was answering trivia or something, one of the questions was like, he sleeps between a rock and a hard place, and I was like, oh, Ned's Newt's. So I like called in or something, and I won a T-shirt.
Yep.
That
was one of the highlights of our childhood, winning an actual contest.
I won another contest too, and it was something about, and I won a Pokemon comic, and it was the one where Ash goes to Mount Moon or something like that, and it was on some YTV. I called in, and like those are like the two things I won in my life, was this stupid yellow T-shirt that Mom wore forever, or no, it was an orange Kraft Dinner T-shirt, and this like Pokemon comic. Those are my claims to fame.
You also won something else. There was something else that you've won. I swear. There was something else.
Weird call-in show.
It was like, no. Didn't you win like some geography thing as a kid? And you could have went on to like Carmen Sandiego, but you were under the age limit?
Oh, no, that was like, it was called the Great Canadian Geography Challenge. And I had something that was like 97% on the test or something, like the standardized test. But I was too old. Or too young to get in for my age category or something like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't go. So the girl that went, and she ended up like dead last on the whole.
Good for her.
Yeah. What are you doing now, dummy? I have a podcast.
Sucker.
All right. So now that we know that there was really good cartoons apparently in this time, great episode of The Simpsons, not bad. Other TV shows freaking suck, but maybe the movies will bring it around. So this week you could watch Liar Liar or Selena. All right. Still in theaters, you could see Jungle to Jungle, Private Parts, Donnie Brasco, and Booty Call.
Okay.
And if you
Interesting.
waited a week or two, you'd see Chasing Amy, The Saint, and Anaconda.
Wow. Save your money, kids. Save your money.
Yeah, don't spend your money. At one point, your uncle will just buy you Jungle to Jungle when he comes to visit. And you'll be like, cool.
I own Jungle to Jungle now.
Yeah. Great. Awesome. That kind of sucked. What about video games? Maybe you're like, all right, let's not leave the house. Let's stay here and just watch Johnny Bravo. You could also watch Tekken 3, video games released for Tekken 3, Vandal Hearts, The Last Express, and Need for Speed.
Ooh, these are some fun ones. Vandal Hearts is something that I just... Every so often, that nostalgic kick just comes a calling, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to watch somebody let's play this or something.
Vandal Hearts, that's the one where it's like a grid-based game or something, right?
Yep. It's like a more straightforward version of like Final Fantasy Tactics, and it's like a tactical RPG, isometric view, so good.
Where can I play this game? Because I might play this later.
There's legitimate sources, I'm sure. But if not, I would. It should be on the PlayStation Network because it's a PlayStation game. It's not on the Classic. It was one of those games where I was hoping would pop up in one of those like collections at some point. It just
$150.
It just doesn't. Yeah, no. You gotta eShop this if you can because you can't buy original. It's too much money.
GameStop, $30 out of stock. It's
Oh,
been out of stock. Been out of stock since 1998. We still got a website though. Good job, GameStop.
Nailed it.
All right,
Yeah.
all right.
No. This is. You might have to PlayStation Network this one.
All right, yeah, I might check that out. All right, and then top 3 songs according to the Billboard charts, and we will get out of this time and start talking about Castlevania because that's why we're here, and we just kind of got distracted by stupid cartoons. All right, number 3 song according to the Billboard charts for March 20th, 1997 is "Can't Hold Me Down" by Puff Daddy. That's not the chorus. That's not the chorus at all.
No, it ain't.
All right. Well, what about the number 2 song? Maybe I've heard of that because it's like, "Can't hold me down. Oh no." Anyways, number 2 was "Hypnotized" by Biggie. So, I mean, we got a lot of East Coast rappers top of the charts. Puff Daddy, Biggie, Best Friends, New York representing. They're on the top of the charts. Do you think any West Coast artists stand a chance at being the number 1 song this week?
Absolutely not. Nothing could top these East Coast Titans.
So these are like hardcore gang. They're like, we're going to start an empire with our music. We're going to become the most famous people on the planet right now. No one is stopping us. We're dominating the charts. No one is as cool as us could ever beat us. That's what they're thinking, right?
Right? Oh, totally. They're number 1. They're the biggest guys on the planet.
2 and 3.
Now.
They got 2 and 3 held down. That's silver and bronze, right? Like
locked down.
All right.
Only one person's ahead. Only one. Who
only
could it be?
one person. And like they're obviously cooler than Biggie and Puff Daddy. And I will say that definitively because the number 1 song is "Bop" by Hanson.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah, like I mean, there's lots of this world that makes sense, and like, yeah, East Coast rappers all at the top of the charts, and then 3 little blonde-haired, long-haired boys are beating them. So,
Bop.
yeah,
Yep.
Bop.
Well, you got to think. There's probably more really lame
Yes.
people in the world.
Yeah. Yep.
And lame people like, you know what? I'm gonna throw my favorite guy to throw under the bus, Doug. Throwing you under the bus again there, Doug. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But Doug existed because boring kids needed TV. They were too scared of their own shadows.
That's it.
So people that needed vanilla, the music, needed Hanson.
That's all it is. People just don't want to be challenged, So that's all that is. So there you go. So congratulations. We spent 15 minutes, and we're just getting back to Castlevania. So good job, us. We had fun with that.
It was a good side tangent.
Remember that last episode where we didn't have any fluff, and now it's all fluff? See, I told you.
Oh, we got him hooked though, because if you listen to part 1, you got to finish part 2.
Oh,
Sorry, got you now.
We're gonna waste your time. That's the scariest thing of all, wasting time. All right, how about the newer memories? So now back into this game, we don't really have any other sections to do. Nothing really changed. So we're to do newer memories, kind of how we got back into this game, maybe in our adulthood, and then right back to it. So after playing through this game a few times with some friends, I just stopped playing it. There was a period between kind of grade 9 and 10. So that's probably like 99 till like 2007. Where just retro games almost weren't a part of my life. Didn't have the Super Nintendos. My gaming experiences were kind of just very limited, very kind of narrow for whatever reason. It's then thanks to kind of early YouTube, and like specifically, I think the guy was called like Cloud8745. He did a Let's Play this game and taught me a lot of like kind of interesting mechanics. I kind of fell back in love. He showed me some cool sword tricks, where to find the best enemies, and it was actually Tyson himself who loaded up a PSP once with a bunch of PS1 games because he got like a big gift card. He traded in his whole Xbox 360 collection
again,
and got like only PlayStation and put them all in like the virtual store. So I had a PSP, so I synced them to his account. And I just backlogged it, and then I had a PlayStation 3, or maybe he had a PSP. And that's what it was. And then I synced my PlayStation 3 with his PSP, and I stole all his digital downloads. So I played through it twice when we were living together in university. And then since then, I've probably played it at least half a dozen times. Once every other year, I'll grab it, kind of relax, just play through it. It's a great time. So thanks, Tyson.
You're welcome. As there's a few games that I just kind of like to have on my digital accounts for whatever reason. Like I've done it for PlayStation 3, like Xbox 360, now Xbox One, PlayStation 4, where I just buy Symphony of the Night, and then I'll just buy like the Final Fantasies, and I'll just make sure that I just have them there just in case. Not because I'm going to go play them next week, but it's nice to just know that they're there.
Yeah. No,
and it's one of those things where it's like they're just like a safety blanket. It's like, no, I don't have the physical copies of these games anymore, but I don't want to have them not in my collection. So I'll just buy them again. So I'm that guy who keeps buying these. So when they re-release them on systems, they're like, man, why do they keep re-releasing these games on systems? Because of people like me. So
yeah, that makes sense. I know they released, I was like Castlevania 7 Night Rondo something for the PlayStation a couple years ago, and I bought it and played through it again. But yeah, it's one of those things. I'm like, I think I own this on my. Like, why wouldn't I just start my PS Vita, which has it on it, and then play it? But no, I'll spend $10 and play it on my TV, I guess. I think the greatest joke was I actually used my PS Vita to stream off my PS4. So I turned my PS4 on to run it and then play Symphony of the Night on my PSP upstairs.
Nice.
I'm cool.
Yeah. Hey, man. You do what you got to do to be handheld. That's why the Switch is just a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, not available on the Switch.
Well, yet. I mean, we could play Aria, Dawn of Aria, so that's pretty exciting. They're good.
I'll play the Game Boy Advance games eventually.
I know Tyson's been grudgingly, and I've said I think they're really good, and like the story's kind of interesting, and like it takes this whole like timeline in like a very interesting route, and he's like at some point we're gonna play, and we'll both be like, yeah, right, they're pretty good. God damn it.
I know that they're fine. They just left a super bad taste in my mouth because it was what. Circle of the Moon, Harmony of Dissonance, then Aria Sorrow. Okay. Like Aria Sorrow was the third one that came out, and they released that then year after year after year. So every year you had to buy this game. So as a kid who has a limited amount of budget, I'm not gonna waste one of my 5 or 6 games I get a year on a Castlevania handheld game. And they did that 3 years in a row, and then everybody's like, well, the one in year 3 was really good. And you're like, you cannot do that. You cannot release 2 games that are mediocre and then have a third one come out and just be like, well, that one was good, so it justified the other 2.
Oh, yeah, I see that they came out. Oh, yeah, and then Dawn of Sorrows later. Curse of
Yeah.
Darkness, Portrait of Ruin. Oh, no, it's like a different series of games on the 3DS.
Yeah. This was like...
Oh, no. This is horrible. Guys, you know what I just realized?
Are we going to have to go down a rabbit hole again? Oh, man.
I thought that we got to play the handheld titles after this, and I was really looking forward to, and like thinking like maybe Resident Evil 4 next year, or like, you know, one of the handheld games would be fun. There are 2 Castlevania games that I completely forgot about that move in the timeline of how we play through these games. We have to play the Castlevania 64 games next.
Yeah, I have been not looking forward to the N64 games on some areas.
Oh, no.
So I've just been like enjoying this. Like, let's keep playing this game. Oh, we're playing a PlayStation game. That's fine. I'm down with that.
Oh. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back into this game. Focus from this point on. No more sidetrack. We will focus primarily on Castlevania Symphony Night. So I apologize for the last 20 minutes, but that's just how life goes. Because we have to enjoy this, because next year is really scary for us. That actually might be happening next year. Oh, that's terrifying. All right. So this year, let's focus on this year. Don't worry about the future. All right. So let's get back to the story of this game. So after discovering that hold on. Getting sidetracked. I'm not reading the story in the proper voice.
Oh, with you.
Sylvania, and then we need song. Let's go Heart of Fire. Oh yeah, all right. After discovering that Richter Belmont was being controlled by the Dark Priest, Shaft, Alucard was able to thwart the evil scheme and set off to the upside-down castle to stop the resurrection of his father, Dracula. Worth it.
Yes. No, pretty straightforward.
You know what? I'll laugh at the future at that, so it was definitely worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It's always good to include those.
The level notes. Now we found ourselves in the inverted castle and are faced with the task of tracking down 5 pieces of Vlad, reference to Vlad the Impaler, and stopping Shaft from resurrecting our father. So it's pretty exciting.
I'm just talking about Shaft.
Just talking about Shaft, baby. That's all. So we are in the reverse keep. So we can explore this area with the bat or gravity boots if you have them. And in one of the rooms near the bottom of the castle, there's a bunch of health and heart upgrades. So obviously this game is going to get really difficult. We know we were kind of like, oh, it's easy. There's only 2 hard parts. The whole reverse castle does kind of have a tough feeling to it, you know? Like it's...
Yeah. It's almost like you were expected, like they held your hand during that first half, and they were like, okay, you know, well, it won't beat you up too hard. And then they were like, no, screw you, you're in a Castlevania game. And you're like, oh my goodness, this got serious real quick. And you're like, yeah, it's a Castlevania game.
Does not mess around at all.
It gets, and I think it's appropriate because, like, I mean, if you went through all that effort of discovering everything, it's like you're trying to be a Castlevania Symphony Night expert, so time to step up your game, kid.
If you do not cheat the game, like I'm about to tell you how to cheat the game, the second part would be kind of challenging, and you would have to go into some of the meta and like really challenge yourself. But I'm going to teach you how to cheat it. So here we go. So if we're moving towards, we're in the clock tower. We want to head to the left, so towards kind of the outer wall, essentially. We're going to fight the vampire bat. He's not super tough. He will throw you against the wall if you're not careful. And beating him, though, gets you the first piece of Vlad. Only 4 to go. Through the reverse clock tower, this area is kind of super annoying. There's some stone Medusa heads, flying sword knight guys. I would recommend, if you have the power of mist, just kind of using that and like sneaking past everyone from now. Before you get to the outer wall, if you drop to the kind of the bottom left of the screen, you will find the dragon helm, which is the best helmet in the game.
Yep. And the Medusa sword flying part is a freaking nightmare. I can't believe you got through this without the bloody moon thing. Because honestly, with the moon boots, you can jump up and then just use the mist boat like when you're getting bounced around. Because knockback in this game is a monster.
Yes. Actually, I think I meant to come back to this area. And there is an area in this. We actually didn't talk about the clock tower. So there's one part where there's all these little gears. And if you hit these little gears around the room in a certain sequence, they open up a special door, which gets you some special equipment. And that's just something I've never done.
Oh, I know of it. I know to do it. And I know you have to listen to a thing. No, there's too much stuff going on right now. It's such a nightmare. Like, this area is horrendous.
Yeah.
That's why, like, I have the little cross, and if you are going to attempt it, get the cross, because then you could just drop it. It'll murder everything flipping around you. And like then you can actually take the time to swing and like actually like move the gears until you hear it click, and then you can move on to the next room. And like, but it's such like to do that 3 times is horrendous.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, not fun at all. So, but we're through there. I think I definitely meant to come back to like get more of my map guided, and I just never came back to this area. So bye, clock tower. Now we're on the reverse outer wall. So this area is definitely not well designed at all. You have to travel up a path that you were like going down before, and it's definitely meant more of a linear, like it just doesn't work well. So it's lots of bats, lots of moon boots, lots of mist forms. There's annoying skeletons that throw bones that knock you back. Slow and steady, mist it up, right? To get at least to the library. In the middle area where we fought the doppelganger on the first one, we fight Frankenstein's monster. We get the Ring of Vlad. So only 3 more relics to go. And there really isn't anything of note in the top area. And I would recommend heading to the library first and foremost, though.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the biggest problem with the inverted castle is just the layout. It's not built for jumping up. Mm-hmm. Like they obviously built it and then like for like the main part of the game, and then just didn't really think too much about all the little things, because they're like, oh well, you can just choose and use the bat or the mist or whatever, and it's like, no, don't make it so difficult to make every jump a nightmare.
Yeah, no. But it's not. It's cute, and it's definitely more of a challenge, right? Like you have these great ways of traversing the world, so they don't really have to overthink it. They're like, you're versatile, you'll figure it out, right? But it is definitely kind of like a downside from the game design. I don't think it was intentional. I think it was just kind of we'll let them figure it out. It's too bad.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so now we go to the Forbidden Library. So there aren't any bosses or key items in this area, so you could really just skip it if you wanted. But if you did, you would be missing out. So the enemies here are Wizard of Oz themes, except for one. He's a little ghost named Shmoo. Shmoo farming, activate. There is a chance, a 1 in 588 chance that he drops a sword called the Chrysogram. It's amazing. With it, you beat the game. It attacks something like every swing is worth like 5 or 6 swipes. So you can pretty much just mow through enemies, no problem. You overpower. It's awesome. There's a little area kind of on the top of the room that you can kind of just hit a Shmoo with your sword, slide out, go back in, repeat until he drops it. Unless, of course, you're like not paying attention and get the 2 dropped swords and you forget to grab them. So you have to do it for a third one. So you probably kill around 1,500 enemies.
That's brutal.
Yeah. I did get a lot of some valuable levels, and my sword familiar got his experience maxed out and turning it from just like a little tiny sword. He's like this big buffed up guy that like glows and he flies around the screen. It's kind of cute.
Yeah, it's kind of like the thing in the cathedral.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very. This and also doesn't have an animation, which means it will keep going. So you can stack them. So you can, if you just mash that attack button, it will just be like 3-4 times, 3-4 times, 3-4 times, 3-4 times, 3-4 times. Like as fast as you can hit that button, there'll be 3, 4, 5, 6 swings of the sword, and it just melts things.
Yes.
Like there's not a boss in this game that can stand up to it, which would have been helpful in another boss earlier, but
yeah. Stupid. But now we can head on to the Black Marble Gallery. So we're going to kind of head through that first corridor, like way back at the game. Now that we can lay the smackdown on almost any enemy, we can head through the Black or the Marble Gallery towards the Clock Tower. The entrance to the Clock Tower is guarded by an enemy called Guardians. Super difficult to beat. You might just want to cheese them with a bat form or mist or something, unless you have the Chrysogram, and then in which case they give you tons of experience. They have a 1 in 370 chance of dropping the God's Garb, which I mentioned last episode, which is the best armor in the game. They also give, like I said, great experience, so farming them, it's not a terrible idea. And I left this area around level 50.
That's fair.
And you might also have to fight the final boss around this area. So if you're struggling kind of with the main boss or later on in the game, this is a good place to come and just kind of like bump up those levels just a little bit, because they get something like 200 to 300 experience every time you kill one of them, right? So
Yeah, there's a spot where you can run you run in a room, like it's run in a room, jump across a like little cavern, and then you run through another room. And there's two of them just sitting there, so you can just like run through, kill two, and then walk out, walk back, walk through, and then just keep doing that, and you'll stack experience. Like it's probably 15 seconds to get through the room.
Oh yeah, no, it does. This doesn't take long. Like once you've got your Chrysogram and you've activated your shmoo farming, it like you done that. Like this is nothing. This is just like simple, quick, done. Get some levels, grab some armor, then we can move on. So we're heading to Deathwing's lair. I believe it's Allrock's quarters is where we're going. So at this point, you kind of have to find the next few pieces of Vlad and explore the castle. There's no wrong answer. That's the end. So the walkthrough suggests that we go to use the right path and head to the left to the open area part, Allrock's castle. Here we find a boss, Okmadan 2. He's a mummy. He literally should not pose any threat to you if you have the Chrysogram, and he'll give you the rib of Vlad. So 2 to go.
Yeah, very these bosses are starting to remind me of another game that we played.
Do we play the Monster Squad?
No, but I was thinking about the first Castlevania game.
Oh yeah.
In the first Castlevania game, don't you play through like basically like all the classic
Universal monsters?
Yeah,
I think so, and I think that's kind of what they're going for with kind of who is holding the boss or like the pieces of Vlad, like they're callbacks to the original game.
Or maybe it's Simon Quest. Is this like not like a throwback to Simon's Quest where you have to grab all the pieces and then form him and
Well, there's a lot of callbacks to old games. And I want to talk about scary games in Podtendo. You should listen to our Simon Quest video because my internet access was so terrible that I think we were using Skype and my computer was so crappy that I would talk and then Tyson would talk and then I just like edit them together so it sounded like we were having a cohesive conversation.
Yeah, everybody, you just thank Mick for all the hard work he does. I didn't edit that, he did.
Tyson just kind of shows up and
I said, I show up, record my voice, and I just send it off to him, and then the thing gets uploaded.
That's it. So you actually don't know any of the meat and potatoes of like?
No, I know a little bit. I know a little bit, and I know about our podcasting host. I know about them.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very simplified. Like we pay for a service, and I just basically press click, and like it uploads the audio file once it's nothing special, and then gets put out to all you lovely people. So
yeah. You got to truncate those silences and mash them all together.
Oh,
trust me, as someone who did like the 1 year of music production at university, I understand. There's a reason I just like oh, you're handling this, cool. I'm taking the biggest steps away from this as I can because that was not my fun part.
Oh, it's better now. My old laptop, my processing power was just atrocious. Like it could do it, but like it would take upwards sometimes of like 30 minutes. So I'd press export audio and then walk away. On my new PC that I bought this last year, like I press like export and the bar moves and it's done in like a minute.
Yeah.
Once in a while, if I'm uploading something to YouTube, it takes a while. Like some of our videos and stuff, for whatever reason, they just save as large files. Like it'll take half an hour, but also just could be if like the internet's a little slower or something, right?
Yep. Oh, there's lots of factors.
Yeah. Man, you know what? We talked about this, but we really had a really good segue. Like, does that remind you of Simon's Quest, the second one? And I said, yes, a lot of things in this area are callbacks to previous games. Hey, let's head to the Colosseum for no reason. So before heading anywhere else, we can double back to the Colosseum, fight through some hordes of enemies that fill up this area. And there really isn't anything noteworthy, except there's a boss fight. We have to fight the fake trio. So we fight the trio of Simon Belmont, Grant Dynasty, and Silpha, the other playable characters other than Alucard from Castlevania 3. How cute.
Yeah, very cool. Like, so cool to see them show up. Like, come on. That's... clap, clap, clap. That's fantastic.
I didn't get it the first time I played it, but then after going back and playing through the other ones, and you played Castlevania 3. And
now that you played Final Fantasy 3, or
Castlevania
3, you go, oh, okay, I get you. And now, and with the animated series, you're like, oh, okay, I even get you even more. I like this. I like this.
The only thing I noticed after I play Final Fantasy 3 is I'm like, what is an Onion Knight? What am I?
Your guess is as good as mine. I still haven't played through Final Fantasy 3. I hear it's not good, so I've stayed away.
For sure. All right, so then on to Anti-Chapel. So, okay, here we go. So this guide really wants us to finish up the top of the castle. So we now make our way through the chapel. up or down the stairs, depending which way you go through, and through the tower areas. Here we can fight the Medusa boss, and she can stone you. Other than that, she's really not that tough. And she gives you the heart of Vlad. One more to go!
Yeah, no, not too much to say.
This is the other route. I mean, we went through the clock tower first. The other route is you could, if you kind of leave the, whatever it's called, the reverse keep and head towards the chapel area, you will fight Medusa. So you basically get a piece of Vlad either way, right? So you could, in theory, fight Medusa and then fight the vampire bat, something, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah, so then we're kind of done the top half. We just have to explore kind of the entrance area and everything in the underground, and the game might be over. So we're gonna head to the reverse cavern. So now that the bottom half of the castle has been explored, we can head to the caverns. We'll have to use the wolf form to fully explore the underwater areas. You can find the Alucard Shield and fight a boss, the Doppelganger. He uses the Rebound Stone, which can cause a lot of damage, so damage him more.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about the doppelgangers. Like, fight him 3 times in this bloody playthrough, and you're just like...
Well, that's twice.
Feels like 3.
Yeah, I think that too, but I think this is the second time you fight him. But for some reason, I also think the first time you go into the room, you fight him, but really you just fight one of, like, the lizard head guy.
Could be. I feel like I run into this room a lot, and I've also just, like, doppelgangers are always just a video game cliche at this point.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, now I gotta fight you again. So, but it's nice to have all the Alucard gear basically at this point. I think there's one more piece that we're missing, but yeah, it's kind of nice to have, like, only now do we finally have all the stuff back that Death stole from us. Stupid jerk.
Yeah, that's kind of cute because it's like, oh, neat. Now I just need my sword and maybe the cape. I probably didn't mention the cape, but we might have it at some point.
Yeah, maybe.
Where.
I feel like we find it in the secret room.
Something like that. All right, so then we're on to the Necromancy Laboratory. So rather than heading deeper, let's head back to the entrance for no reason. We can find some tough enemies, collect a lot of HP/heart upgrade vials, and find a boss in a room where we fought the first boss in the game. It's Beelzebub, the Lord of the Flies. He's a dead, rotting corpse. You have to attack his head, and if you attack his body parts, they fall off, and flies attack you. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's a neat. Kind of reminds me of the... something Falloon.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know. But it's neat that, like, isn't Beelzebub the other name for the devil? But this guy's just like, he's just generic rotten corpse demon.
Yeah, I think the devil takes many forms, and one of them might be Beelzebub. I don't know the backstory of him, but...
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah. All right.
Couldn't tell you.
Cool. Now we can go to the cave. So now we can double back to the upper parts, meaning the lower parts in the normal castle. Oh, that's confusing. Head to a bridge that was destroyed by the barrel skeleton. Below, you can save and fight Death? He stole your weapons earlier, so steal his life. He gives you the Eye of Vlad, and now you can go defeat Dracula. Pretty exciting.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a trickier boss, but I think with,
Oh.
all the weapons and upgrades you have, like, I mean, you're so overpowered and the game's, like, so broken at this point. It's like, makes you feel good to whoop Death, though.
And when you first get to reverse caverns, you can get the Alucard Shield, and if you use the shield rod mixed with the Alucard Shield, you can, whatever a combo it is, like, I forget how to do it, but if you look it up and you hold the Alucard Shield, you just attack things and deal damage and get healed at the same time, and you're unstoppable.
There's so many ways to break this game. It's beautiful.
It is great. So that's one of those things where, like, at this point, you're basically just walking Death. Like, you're walking around. It does feel kind of cool because you are, like, the lord of the castle. You understand why Dracula is probably so much, like, everyone follows Dracula because he's probably a little stronger than you, and you're just destroying his, like, minions, right? Like, his legion of army, you're just destroying in one, and they're like, oh, that's unfortunate.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's the funny thing is, like, when the sucker bit, like, in the first half, when the succubus dies, like, oh yeah, you really are Dracula's son. Yeah. I should have never messed with you. And you're like, yep. Yeah. Then you hear her scream in the background and you're like, he just murdered her. And you're like, yeah, he does. That's Alucard's stick. And you're like, but that's a good point that you think that, like, you really are just, if you were going to play Dracula the game, that's essentially what this is.
Yep.
Like, you can do all the stuff that he can, and you can just wreck everybody. So,
yes.
Cool.
Very, very cool. So where are we at? So we're in the floating cat. So basically, we're done the game. We have 2 more bosses to fight. One will end the game, and the other is the toughest in the game. So if we choose to, we have to go through the catacombs. We can get some equipment, and at the very far end, we fight the toughest guy in the game. His name is Galimoth. He is a god of lightning. He's giant. He kicks the heck out of you. He deals tons of damage. I believe he's actually designed in such a way that you can't win without you doing something. So you need the Chrysogram and some healing items, or you have to be really buffed up and use the Alucard Shield and the Shield Rod combo or something like that. But if you do defeat him, congratulations, you get the Poison Mist upgrade, which, I mean, if you had unlimited magic, you could just turn it on and just like float over enemies and kill them and be a lame kid. But there you go.
Well, you know, it's an easy way. It's a low APM way of getting through this game. You just low actions per minute. You just move that stick over.
Oh, and like you could just float, like especially on a big guy like this. You could just, I mean, I guess you wouldn't have the poison mist before you fought him. But you just kind of like hover.
He was also supposedly the main antagonist of Kid Dracula.
Cool.
So he's always been the antagonist to Dracula. That's fascinating.
Fascinating. Maybe we'll talk about him later in the show. So, as someone who enjoys lore, I'm like, why is this really tough man living in your basement, Dracula?
Yes. Why are you there?
Why are you there? So then the final showdown. So now we've collected, we can head back to the elevator. We've got our 5 pieces of Vlad. The clock starts to chime. It opens up that area where we met Maria earlier. We can save, get some, I think there's like one more heart fill thing. And you're like, great, if you need some grinding, go fight those guardians. Although at this point, if you're like past level 50, they shouldn't give you too much experience. But I think we're ready. So we get to fight Shaft. Clearly, I said there was 2 bosses left earlier. We've already fought Galimoth, so this is the last guy in the game. So you confront the mastermind behind the game. You should be able to take him out. And as he dies, he tells you that Dracula has already been resurrected and you failed. Wow, no. So then we fight Dracula. Your father shows up as a giant flying monster. Avoid his hands and attack him. And then he dies.
Yeah. Galimoth's a little bit harder.
Oh, way harder. If you beat Galimoth, like, these last 2 are just like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah, Shaft's a kind of a joke at this point.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure if you just like fought him without kind of getting all the broken weapons and all the little secrets, like it would probably be way harder.
I have not played through this game without the Chrysogram in years. And like I kind of almost want to play it again without using it just to see. But maybe on my next playthrough I'll like make a note like no Chrysogram.
Yeah, it's hard though because it's like it's just sitting there. It's like I could just grind it for 5 seconds.
I could just like stop and get it, and like I don't have.
I could just have it in my inventory. I mean, I don't have to have it equipped.
And then if things get really tough, you know, I always have that backup plan. I mean, that's not terrible because if you get stuck in a hallway and you're almost dead, and you're like, oh, I'm not anywhere close to a save room, like it would help you get back to the save room, right? And
yeah, or you could just take the game over. Like I mean, it's like and then just load your save. It's not like this, like games with save with like load or like actual like save data. It's what's really the worst that can happen? I just have to reload.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but then sometimes like you're like I did so much in the last like 10 minutes.
That's the worst part because then there's something that you did during that last 10 minutes. They're like, I'm never gonna do it. I'm not doing it again. Not happening.
Yep. All right, so now we get to the ending. So you cast your father from this realm once and for all. And as he dies, he asks about your mother. And you tell him that her last words were, do not hate them. If you cannot live with them, at least do not do them no harm, for theirs is already a hard lot. And Dracula laments his attack on humanity and rests in peace. Alucard is then joined by Maria and Victor outside the castle as it disappears. Alucard says he will slumber now forever, so his blood will never curse the land again. And Maria chases after him because she's like, I love you. And the credits roll.
Yeah, well, it's weird.
Yeah.
Because she's like 17 in this, and it's like, isn't he like 400 years old?
Only because you're putting your weird dated social stigmas. Like, you know, 100 years ago, 17-year-olds had jobs and were collecting RSPs and had like 4 kids. So
well, and to be fair, you know, 400 years ago or what the heck it was, they only lived to 35.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, she's a 40-year-old woman that's 100%. About to die.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she's basically in retirement.
Yeah. So don't put your like out of date modern take on this like classic love story between
a guy that doesn't want to date this 17-year-old girl and a 17-year-old girl that's infatuated with this 400-year-old vampire. No, fair enough.
Yeah. So with that, it's over. Current thoughts on this game. What a classic title. This game has its shortcomings of PS1 generation, but is mixed with amazing game design to create a super immersive experience. This is one of the best, greatest puzzle games ever made. You really have to think about every item, search your inventory, look for like hidden elements, like what things are greater. They interact with the world in amazing ways. There is just enough like meta in this game that you can kind of keep playing it. Like there's stuff in this game I don't know about. I don't know all the spells. I'm sure if I looked into it, I'd play through this experience and be like, wow, that's great, right? But I can also really enjoy this level, dive into this game, and like dive into the lore and get a different experience than you can get, right? It created its own genre. What more could you ask for? So Dyson, what are your current thoughts on this game?
I'm a huge fan of this game, so my opinion is a little biased. But I think that this is the best Castlevania game. This is the one that I will always go back to. It is so fascinating. It's so much fun. The soundtrack's so cool. All the characters are wicked. Like the art style's amazing. Like the gothic architecture and all the monsters. Like there's lots of like little shortcomings, but I think that they did a fantastic job making such a unique, diverse world to just explore and run around in, and it's so rewarding. I never once feel that like, oh, I have to go do this and what a slog this is going to be. It's like, okay, cool, I'm going to go do that, and then I'll run over there and go do this, and then I'll teleport over there and go. Like, it's so easy to pick up. Like, before, when we were playing before we were kind of like, oh yeah, we decided on Symphony of the Night, it was like, oh, okay, I'll pick this up. And then within like 2 sit-throughs and playthroughs, I was already like, oh, I'm on the inverse castle, so like, I mean, should I just finish this now? Or like, and it's just like, maybe it's because I've played this game so much, but I think that this is a great intro 2D platformer exploring game, or like if you want to call it a Metroidvania, call it a Metroidvania. But like, this is a 2D adventure game with RPG elements, and that like I love that template. That is so like awesome and fun, and it's a unique world to explore. Like, I mean, I just want more of this game. That's all I've ever wanted. I just want more and more and more of Castlevania. Like, I want Symphony of the Night 2. That's what I want. It's what I've always wanted. I want a world to explore. It makes me want to go back and play Dracula X, even though I don't like that one as much. But it makes me just even like love the Castlevania world so much more because it's so unique, and there's like the art style, and it's just so like mouth-wateringly beautiful. It's fantastic. Like, this game, I can't gush enough. So
awesome, cool. Well, now I'm gonna ask you a really tough question though. What would you change?
Maybe like you could probably tidy up the story and the character dialogue, but I like them. Yep. I think that they're intentionally kind of bad. Like, I mean, the way that the people that read the lines kind of like play it, like, I think Maria's the only one that's playing it super, super straight. Like, everybody else kind of has like a little bit of cheese factor to them.
Yeah.
And I like that even the guy that voices Alucard is kind of like, ugh. He just sounds like super like, oh, why am I even here? Just and it's like that's a perfect voice for him. That's so brilliant.
True. Yeah. Very true.
What would I change? Give me an open world to explore before getting to this. I want to see what the landscape surrounding castle or Dracula's castle is, and I want to just, even if it's just like you quickly run through like. Oh, imagine if it was like Ghosts and Goblins.
Okay, yeah.
Where you have like, you kind of start off in a field and you're just like running as like you wake up out of the crypt as like Alucard, see what's going on. You're like, that son of a bitch is resurrecting himself. I gotta go stop my dad. And then you have to get to the castle, and that's when like that's what I would change. I'd add more to this game.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think you're going. Expanding. I don't know if you could like expand it, create like just a bigger castle area. I kind of like the fact you're just stuck in the castle. It's called Castlevania. You're stuck in a castle. Kind of makes sense. For myself, I would think up the cutscenes. They are kind of lame, right? Voice acting comes part and parcel. maybe just like obviously the animations could be a little bit better, but I would add just more lore to the game. So I'm going to come from that point. I love the lore, but it just doesn't give you enough, right? And even just like nothing else, just like a hidden book. You can find books and you can go into your inventory and you can read through a book and it tells you something, right? Like you learn about Galimoth naturally by picking up a book that someone drops or something like that. Like that, I think would add just a little bit more depth to this game and give you a little bit more talking points. So nothing major.
For sure.
I do believe that once we pick up the GBA and like Game Boy DS games at some point, we'll both be like, oh, these are better than we thought, you know? And like Castlevania, it's Symphony, it's better, but like these aren't awful, right? And that's like most of my experience with this Castlevania series as we went through this podcast. One, I was like, one's a thing, and like two, I was like, actually, two's kind of fun if you know where you're going, right? Like it gets a bad rap, and then three, you're like, oh, three was just a better version of one. Four is an updated, like the superior 2D kind of Belmont adventure almost, right? And now we're at here, and like each game kind of keeps beating my expectations. I bet you I even like the N64 games. I know I kind of made light that I don't want to play them. I bet you actually have fun with them now that my like I'm a little bit better of a 3D gamer, right? And I've had that experience. I bet you they're not as terrible as. I think it just kind of keeps this whole series just keeps beating my expectations, and this game the same. I mean, I've always loved it. Like Tyson said, it's just one of those things. It's been our childhood. It's been a part of our lives for so long. You can't hate it, but it just gets better with age. So.
Well, and one other thing I was gonna actually mention, just as kind of just. The menus, clean those up. That's ugly. And then like some of the actual like script writing on the PlayStation looks just yucky. Just hard to read.
You could clean up visually just a little bit.
Yeah, just clean up the UI, like the font and the menus.
Somewhere I read, maybe I didn't include that, but the menus were an afterthought, I think. So the RPG element they added because the game just was a little bit more difficult. So they kind of just like made a basic menu and ended up sticking with it. So it is really rudimentary.
I literally think that the menu that the menus in the game are the menus that the game programmer made for himself.
Yeah, that's what they are. They never
they never touched them. They're like, it's fine.
Yeah, well, they forgot. They kind of were like, oh, yeah, I guess that's a thing we should change. That's fine. Just, it works for you. Just go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is something you could just update. And you'd be like, oh, that's kind of neat. It's stylized and there's artwork to it.
Yep. I think that'd be one of the few things. And you're probably right. Like, I mean, I think that, and this is where I kind of like scratch my head because there's like people who are like, Simon's Quest is like an abomination of a game. And yet then they'll tell me that the GBA games are like, I have to play it. And you're like, then I play Simon's Quest. And I'm like, this game's not even bad. I understand where people can get frustrated. And I understand where you could be like, oh, that sucks. But like in a context of like knowing where you need to go, it's a good game. And I think that people sometimes just get really dramatic. And it takes a lot for me to kind of really like classify a game as bad. But I know from my experience that one of the Castlevanias on the N64 is going to really rub me the wrong way. And the other one I'll probably be fine with. But that's also because maybe there's a werewolf.
Cool. Well, at least that's what you think from the box art. I've never actually looked into that game. So.
Oh, cool. I have. I might have. I wonder I might have almost bought that as a kid. And then I decided that probably shouldn't because I played the first Castlevania on the N64.
And somehow we got the first Castlevania. I feel like it was like a Zeller's purchase or something. We played
No, it was when Blockbuster used to put some of their older games. They would have multiple like titles.
Yeah.
Then because it was our Blockbuster Rogers Video because that's where we were buying a lot of our games. We were going to Blockbusters and Rogers Video, waiting for them to go to like.
Yeah.
The discounted, the cheaper, like we bought 5 of these. We're only going to keep one.
Interesting.
Selling 4 of them.
Well, anyway, so we had that. That was our first experience. So I kind of always assumed this game was like that. So it's unfortunate I kind of picked maybe one of the worst games in the series to base my whole opinion on the series. But I've learned. And like I said, maybe going back won't be so bad. So anyway, so that wraps up our done. We're done. Done this game. Do have a cultural significance to get through. I still see a big wall of text for us to kind of parse through, and then we're done. So it's pretty exciting.
Yep.
All right, awesome. So cool. So that was the end of our review. Obviously, go play this game. It's a good time.
Yep. Can't say enough good things about it.
Sweet, yeah. So on to cultural significance. In this section, we look at game tropes, marketing tactics, which never really done outside of that Star Fox kiosk or something. Anyway, interesting stories. We talk about how this game relates, give other examples, and tie it all back together in the end. One of the least well thought out sections on this. So let's start at looking at something I dearly love, the lore of Castlevania Symphony of the Night, specifically the unusual bosses in this game. So we'll start out with Slagra. He's a weird bird man. In Japanese, his name is Corrupted Penguin?
Pelican.
Pelican, yeah. What did I say?
Penguin.
All right, whatever.
Interesting. I don't even remember what Slagra looks like.
He's like the guy with the spear. And Gabon's like the gargoyle. He's the next one.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see how that's a corrupted
Penguin. Or Pelican, yeah.
Pelican.
I did it again.
They do make an appearance in the Castlevania game, or in the Castlevania animated series.
Cool. I should probably watch that. Maybe that's what I'm watching.
You haven't watched? Okay, yeah. There's 4. It's only, and they're done with it. So once you watch all 4, you're done.
Okay. All right. Well, I just, yeah. All right. I did watch Broly, Dragon Ball Z Broly last night, and I was like, that was an experience. But
oh yeah, I've heard it's not great.
No, not at all. Anyways, on to the next guy, Kara Suman. He is also called Malphus. He is a man with a bird head and wings. He is described as a general who commands 40 legions of demons for Satan himself.
All
right.
He is pretty cool looking, actually. He literally just like is that black. He's like a black figure that has like a dome mask or what the heck going on, big old wings. He flies around and he pushes you around in the game. Pretty neat, but the art's a very cool character. Like I mean, like very striking. So
yeah, kind of lame.
Like a fallen angel or something.
Yeah, I think he's like an early boss in the game somewhere. I don't know exactly where he is. Maybe in the clock tower or something like that. And then he just becomes a very common enemy. So it sucks. On to our next guy, Olrox. He's a vampire. He's named after Count Orlox from Nosferatu. I believe he is second in command to Dracula himself.
Oh, cool.
Right. How about Grand Falloon or Legion? This is why I knew so much information last time. He is a giant ball of bodies. He's named after a demon that could possess a bunch of humans. In this game, he's a weird tentacle that has covered its weakness with human bodies. How about the Cilia? So it's a supernatural female creature with 12 feet and 6 heads on long, snaky necks. Her loins are girdled by the head of a bang dog. She is from Greek mythology and is one of the nemesis of Odysseus.
Yeah, she's like an octopus with 2 giant doggy heads or 3 giant doggy heads.
Snake tentacle things. It's
Yep.
Every anime or every what is that called? Hentai's boy's favorite thing. I don't know. And then finally, Galimoth. He's a magical being who has been planning a 10,000-year plan to take over the throne of the Netherworld. He was a main protagonist in Kid Dracula.
Interesting.
And then Galimoth is a boss in the Castlevania. No, I just what I posted on Wikipedia. Cool. All right. That's it. So that kind of is everything else is like pretty common. Like it was like Frankenstein monsters or mummies or Medusas. Hopefully you guys know about those. If not, look them up.
Yeah. I mean, I love how all the mythology and the different creatures that they've grabbed and they've kind of curated. And it's very cool to kind of think that like Galimoth was slowly making his long 10,000-year plan. My God, that's a long plan.
Yeah.
To take over Dracula's castle by just hanging out in his basement.
Yeah. Step 1, years 1 through 999 or 9,999. I'll move into his basement, and then when he least suspects it, I'll take over his castle.
Yeah, it's like, what? He's dead. Why didn't you take over his castle?
Well, he wants to take over the throne of the Nether, so maybe death? Maybe he wants to take over for death as well?
Yeah, I think that he's just a cool boss that they just had to squeeze in there.
Yeah,
and they're like, he's kind of got like an Egyptian feel.
And if you were like, live forever, 10,000 years really isn't that long, though. Whatever.
Oh, man, it's like it's an afternoon for them.
Yeah. So that's, again, I kind of just highlighted enemies, bosses that were a little normal. And it is kind of neat, like I was saying, that Castlevania is this like dark entity that exists that draws in. So like Medusa was in Greek mythology, and then obviously the time of Greek mythology disappeared, and this evil presence like drew her to the castle. So now she comes and works for Dracula, right? And like it's kind of neat to think it draws in all these dark forces from around the world, like the mummies and stuff like that come and live here because it just like kind of pulls them all together. And that's how great Dracula is, right? Like all these people want to come and work for like the main boss. So.
Yep. And even from Japan, the evil pelicans, they fly over.
Yep. Everything. He collects everything. Maybe he goes around the world and like when he's not being destroyed by a Belmont, he's just
it will like that is a thing about the Castlevania castle is it can just
appear
has
anywhere.
Dark magic where it can just appear anywhere. So it's like, yo, bro, let's go to Hawaii real quick. Grab the sea monsters. Why not?
Cool.
Why not?
All right.
Do up.
All right. So then we could be done, but I love my listicles. So let's end with something really scary. A top 10 list of the best Metroidvania games according to Games Radar. If we don't know anything about them, we can just move on. I think I've literally heard of like 4 of these games. So how about number 10 is Owlboy for the PS. Let's call it current gen. So PS4, Xbox One, Switch. Owlboy. Know anything about it?
That's a boy who's an owl.
All right. Do you know more about number 9, Supraland?
Does it involve the cars Toyotas? Like the Toyota Supras?
Probably involves more than number 8 does. Guacamelee. Also for current gen. All right.
It's a like a luchador Mexican thing.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, running around.
All right. So maybe these other ones we know. About number 7, SteamWorld Dig. I played this.
I've never even heard of this.
Oh, so you're like a robot guy and you have a shovel and you have to go into these underground worlds and like explore and like you have to make paths and like sometimes you just fall down if you can't jump up the walls.
So
and
like Terranigma?
Sort of, and there's like little treasures, but as you kind of move down this world, you find out that there's like it becomes more advanced technology, and I think you find out that the human race destroyed themselves. And the layer of dust and dirt is like the fallout from the nuclear wars that destroyed the human race. And now these little robots live in this like Western themed world. It's kind of neat.
This is way too elaborate.
I mean, what I just told you was like the reason I played the game. And I was like, cool. It's all right. Yeah, it's kind of like sort of like a Terranigma / like Castlevania.
Terraria. Terranigma's a Super Nintendo game.
Oh, okay. Terraria, yeah.
Yeah, Terraria.
All right, and how about number 6?
Terranigma? That's a different game altogether.
And a different genre for a different day. How about number 6 is Shantae, Half Genie Hero. Never played it. I've heard they're good.
Yeah, I know it's a thing because it's really rare because it didn't sell very good. So if you try to find an original Shantae, and that's why when it got re-released, people were like lost their minds because they're like, we can actually play this game again and not have to spend like 10,000. It was an absurd amount of money just for the original cartridges because they sold like 10,000 of them.
What day one limited edition release Shantae the Ultimate Collection sells for $400 on Amazon. That's too much money.
It's pretty bonkers. Or you could just buy the digital version for $30.
Well, PS4's got one for, what is this? Half Hero, Half Genie. Is this
$38 for that one?
I'm saying $25 free shipping. It's not bad.
Yeah, no, but there was a Shantae. Was it NES or was it Game Boy? It was a Game Boy Color game.
Oh, gotcha. Huh. All right. I like this because it's just like, let's go buy stuff. How about number 5 is Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night for the current gens. This was, I believe, the team that worked on Castlevania at some point. They left Konami and they're like, we're just going to do our own thing. And basically made like the unofficial sequel to Symphony.
Yeah, and Bloodstained 1 is like more Castlevania-y style, like more Symphony of the Night style. But then for Curse of the Moon 2, they went back further. They went like Nintendo style. So in my mind, it's like, well, you guys, you're going to the back. You're going backwards here. Why would I play 2 when it looks so 2-y?
All right. How about number 4 is Ori and the Blind Forest? No. Okay. How about
I've heard really good things about it.
Okay.
But like I know nothing about it.
Okay. How about number 3 is Cave Story for the last gen of console? Oh, pretty exciting.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know too much.
Early indie game. Kind of blew up around the Super Meat Boy level. Apparently, it's supposed to be kind of good too. Remember watching like Completionist. All right, okay. But number 2 is Hollow Knight for the current gen. I think I might own like 2 or 3 copies, and I've never played it. So, in fact, I think you might have actually bought me for the Switch or something.
Maybe. I know of this because I think I watched a video on the Completionist talking about it and gushing about it. But yeah, I don't know. Not doesn't quite ring no bells.
Hollow. Let's spell hollow correctly. Hollow PS4. So it's about $60 for a copy on the Switch, or about $38 for a physical copy on the PS4. Or again, I think I own them on both PS4 and Switch and digital, so I can just play them there. And then number 1, obviously, is Dead Cells for the current gen. Obviously, there's a bit of a bias for the current gens on this list. I've heard Dead Cells is really good. It's kind of like a roguelike, like levels regenerate, and you kind of have to explore, and it's kind of fun. It's one of those ones I always mean to buy. $25 PS4, or $40 on the Switch. So go figure.
Yeah, it seems like lots of indies too. Like, I mean, not every game needs to be an indie game. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And yeah, I don't know. I think that like literally, there's so many 2D platforming RPGs that it's like, and I don't know. This is a platform that lends itself very well to, let's say, not just console gaming. It can go on PC or even on mobile. Yes, I am including mobile on this one. Because it's a straightforward system that, like, you need pretty basic-ish controls, and it just needs to be more about the world that you create. Like, you don't need to play... The reason why Symphony of the Night's so amazing is because it has the level of depth that someone who can just swing the swords and equips a shield can play it from start to finish. Or someone that wants to learn all the key sequences so they can teleport, throw fireballs, and transform and steal souls from people who wants to learn how to do all that stuff can.
Yeah.
So you have the flexibility of doing all that stuff. And sometimes I find indie games are really amazing at one aspect. They have a really cool world. They have some neat gameplay, but they don't do everything. And I think that that's what made Symphony of the Night so cool and so perfect, and why people still come back to it today and still compare games to it that came out years after the fact to it. Is they did everything so freaking well, minus, the UIs and stuff. But like, you have a cool world, you got tight controls, you have interesting characters, you have fun equipment, the combat system's very rewarding, the difficulty curve is fair. Like, there's so much to it. And I feel like that's sometimes where, like, that's why it just stands like above all these other games on this list, where it's like, maybe these games do some of those things well, but they don't do everything well as Symphony of the Night does. You know what I mean? Yeah,
no, I did not stop you. I left you talk because you were all making good points, and I agree. And yeah, I think if you played Hollow Knight, I've heard that there's like some really cool world building lore in that, and especially Dead Cells, I've heard nothing but good things. So I wonder if you played those games, if you get the experiences, right? Rather than just like, yeah, it's a really intricate game, and they put a lot of thought into those.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with like Ori and the Blind Forest. Like I've literally heard people, a little bit older than me, flat out say that is one of the best games they've played in the last 20 years. And you're like, so for someone who's played, like they grew up with the Atari, to tell me that that's one of the best games that they've played, it's like, I kind of have to take their, like, okay, cool, I'll have to give it a chance when I get around to it. Currently, I have a list of amazing games that I need to get through. Like, I mean, we just got to Symphony of the Night, and this is like one of my favorite games, so... And we're like almost in like, we're in episode in their 90s. Like, how crazy is that? So
yeah, no, we're talking. We might be trying to get to 100 soon, but yeah, we're in the 90s. It's fun. I'm looking at dates and times and anyways, where are we at? This game is jam-packed with lore. It should also be highly touted on any top 10 Metroidvanias list, considered it's one of the first. It is still great, and that's culturally significant. There, we wrapped up that section. We did it. Hooray.
We sure did.
Nice. Yeah, and like Tyson was just kind of saying, it's very, very good, right?
Yeah, well, I think it's like, it's strong in so many different aspects. Mm-hmm. It's not just like, oh, the combat of this, the jungle physics, oh my god, just so good, so rewarding. It's like, no, it's like, you when you feel like you're poning people, it feels so good. And then like having like the bosses blow up, or exploring what's under that this next little spot, or realizing that, you know, if you, let's say, maybe blow up a wall, there's something behind it, and then there's this like, what's this mystery behind Richter? Why is he evil all of a sudden? Like, it's cool. Like, I mean, or if you want to just be like, I want to speed run this game as fast. Can I beat this game with doing basically nothing? Can I, like, what's the bare minimum I need to do to get to or to Richter to see if I can beat him?
Yep.
Like, and like, I'm like, that's a challenge you could do. Or you could be like, can I unlock everything? Like, there's both ends of the argument, and then it's kind of like, just enjoy it and have fun. And that's what I think a good game does, is it rewards you for just playing it and having fun.
Nice. Well said. Yeah, like Tyson said, I think he's obviously Gush. He obviously really likes this game. And hopefully you liked listening to us. We're going to try to end it now, because we might have a show coming out on Halloween, like in the next couple days, and I don't know what kind of bandwidth we have, so I actually have to get these episodes kind of edited so I can find out how long we can talk about our next shows. So good job, us.
Oh well, sometimes we talk too much, but
no, it's all right.
I think I got to say James Bond.
All right, sweet. Yeah, I'm not trying to stop you. I mean, obviously enjoying the conversation. I was just kind of looking. I was like, wonder how much time we have left for that next episode.
Yeah, no. And there's lots to cover. So, I mean, I could go on and on, but hit me up on the socials if you want to keep talking or Symphony of the Night. I'll talk all day.
And the reason we did this is 2 parts is because, like, this game deserved, in my mind, 2 parts on this show, right? Like, it's not just not RE3 Nemesis. That's like a pretty cut and dry episode. Like, this is a big game for us, right? So I'm glad we kind of gave it the chance, and yeah, good from there. Talk to you guys in a couple days for Halloween exactly, but hopefully you guys are being scared. Ooh.
Yes, and the good kind of scared.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. So with that, talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.